But then you think, well, wait a minute, this guy's a doctor, you know, and then he's telling me, oh, not just me, thousands, even the president saw it.
Yeah.
And now you're saying to yourself, you can't dismiss this. You can't sort of say, oh, they must be nutty. No, the president, and he's a Muslim as well, you know.
Yeah. So this kind of mass experiences, of course, it's not something we dismiss because it's not done by one individual. So even though sociologically you can say mass hallucinations, they call it hallucinations, can happen for various reasons, but it doesn't have to be that route. For example, I mean, I had friends who said, look, I can take you to somewhere where you can actually experience what we call jinn. You can see them.
Yeah, oh, really?
And at that time I was interested, but I didn't want to go. I didn't take that step go forward.
Yeah.
Because we believe jinn exists.
Yeah.
And people can come in contact with jinn. I didn't want to just go into this world.
Another word for describing them as demons.
I mean, there are good jinns and a bad jinn. So a demon would be someone who can say a bad demon. Yeah. So we have this concept of jinn, which is another being with rational capacity of exercising their choice, free will.
Yeah.
And they can believe in God or they can disbelieve in God. The jinns. So you have the jinns which will submit to God and the jinns who will not submit to God. So,
but even the jinns who will not submit, surely they believe that God exists. They don't want to submit, but they. Do you know my point?
There are many people who believe in God, but for whatever reason they don't even submit to God. There are people even like that, even from human beings. People are aware, they know for sure God exists, but for whatever reasons their own desires overcome them and they don't want to submit to Him, because submitting to God means you have to control your ego, your passions, your desires. Your whole lifestyle will change, and some people don't want to. To give you an example, where even the uncle of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ knew that Prophet Muhammad is not an imposter, he's a man and appointed by God to convey the message, but because of his social status, and what he thought he would lose of the privilege from the people and the eyes of the people, his status, he didn't want to declare his Islam and become a Muslim. So there can be various sociological, intellectual or emotional, psychological reasons people may have not to submit to God. Okay, it doesn't mean that they don't believe in God. There are people like that who do, but they don't. Satan is a prime example. Yeah. Satan knows the existence of God, but rebel against Him and say, I don't want to follow you, I'm going to do my will because now I'm in this situation, and he's willing to take that step all the way to hell, just because he's doomed. He wants everyone else to join him. Yeah. So knowing something doesn't mean that you will act upon it. Another prime example is smoking.
Yes.
Smoking, now we put on cigarette packs, smoking causes cancer, smoking kills, and a picture of a very bad damaged lung.
That's right.
It doesn't stop everyone from smoking.
No, of course not. No.
So the awareness or knowledge of things doesn't necessarily make people just act on the message. They can still reject that message. Again, based on what? Well, they don't want to give up smoking because it makes them happy. It makes them.
I actually, one of my own sisters, who was a very bad smoker, and she died prematurely, lung cancer, which was no surprise because she was smoking, so it was no surprise. So, but people will think that, it won't happen to me, and so on. But it can happen to you.
Yeah. So it's an interesting concept where sometimes. You see, if you look at the elements, who's giving you the information, what information they're giving, and the consequences. When it comes to smoking, it is not any Tom, Dick and Harry. It's the health establishment telling you that this is bad for you. The message is very clear. It's sometimes even visual, that it will harm you, it will kill you, you will suffer badly. And the consequences is explained. Yet people not do it. It is not that they don't know where it's coming from. They know it's coming from health establishment. Message is clear. The consequence is understood, but they still don't do it. Yeah. Likewise, when it is applied to religion and believe in God, it is not that people don't know that the arguments for the existence of God, or even their own self, the experiences they have about the reality and about God, and the message which this God wants, how to live this life of submission and surrender, and of course in a good life. It's not like you just do bad things in submission. The Creator doesn't command people to submit to God by killing people and raping people. Of course not. Instead, it's a way of submission to be better, to live a life of, happiness and tolerance in this life, which then gives you the lead to the next life, which is going to be a life of happiness and bliss and joy.
Yeah.
So people are aware of this message and aware of the consequences if you don't follow that message. If you become really a rebel and arrogant, stubborn individual and you reject this message, then the consequences are awaiting you.
Yeah.
But still, people take that choice.
Yes.
I mean, that's what's quite surprising, isn't it? I mean, one of the things as Muslims, when we come to, invite people or tell people about to come back to this reality, is to make people or remind themselves of this reality.
Yeah.
We can't force on people.
No.
We can't convince people. I mean, this is a false notion that I can convince you, and we can't. You have to be convinced yourself from the information or whatever other means that is presented to you or come by you that you take in yourself.
Yeah.
So I can give you all rational reasons why Islam is true, but it might not convince you, because what convinces you is what you make that as a convincing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a constant, I would say, like a struggle to live in this life, to make people understand this. Some people often question, why do you have to tell me about religion? Why do you have to tell me about Islam? I don't care. But if you knew someone is walking a path and at the end there's a big hole down there going to fall over, would you not warn them?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, that's how we feel as Muslims. And yourself, what religion do you follow?
Well, to be honest, I don't really follow any religion. I mean, I bought into Catholicism, which is Christianity. And for my part, I have no doubt that there is God, and I have no doubt that there is the devil. I know those things are around me. We can, if we can see around us evil, we can see it. We can also see that there is good.
Absolutely.
But I think we could probably weigh up the balance. I think we see more evil than good.
Depends on how we transform it, because you see, good and evil is a very relative term in this world of ours. If we create a hole in the ozone layer and people get skin cancers, I mean, you can't say it's evil, the world is evil. We did this ourselves.
No, but what I mean is there are people that will do things.
Yes.
I mean,
there are a lot of bad people.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of good people too.
No, but what I'm saying is that you could be bad. I've done plenty of things that are bad, but I've not done anything that's evil. That's an extreme badness.
Sure.
To me, that's evil. So
one of the things,
we're all bad. We all do bad things. But maybe we don't all do evil things. The extreme badness.
So you'd be quite interested to. I mean, if you research about Islam, in Islam we have this concept called this struggle to make yourself better.
Yeah.
I didn't use this taboo word, but can you think of which word I'm referring to? Struggling to make yourself better, struggling to make the nation better, struggling to make the world better, struggling to make things better.
The taboo word, everything.
Jihad.
Oh, I see.
The moment people hear jihad, they think it's like a military struggle, political fight.
I know
but in Islam,
that most people jihad they think is, like you say, a fight.
It's a fight of aggression and violence.
But I think jihad is also can be thought of in
So jihad is
putting forward the correctness of things and so on. Yeah, but it doesn't have, in people's understanding of it here, doesn't really correspond.
People have totally misused this word and made it into a different term itself. So the reason I'm saying it's very interesting, it will be interesting to you. So we have this concept of jihad in Islam, which amounts from correcting your own self constantly, your own ego, your own soul, which is the self, to constantly make yourself because it has, we believe God has given us this ability of free will, albeit in a limited form, as well as the knowledge of good and evil.
Absolutely.
And he's told us to avoid the evil and continue to do good.
Yes.
But our self, our ego, as well as the environment, will constantly want us to get these evil things, right? Because things that God prohibits, you say, why not try that, right? Because the ego, yourself, will want to try it, because that's how curiosity is, maybe. Because if, for example, you want some happiness and you find that happiness can come by means of force on someone because you can't get it otherwise, that would be considered an evil thing anyway. But some people will want to take that path by forcing on people their own happiness. Rape, for example.
Yeah.
Yep. Enforcing your own desires on someone else.
Yeah.
But Islam says all of these, evil things and desires that you have to combat and constantly fight and struggle yourself to stand, yourself from this to a better standard, better type of living, and ennoble yourself.
Yeah.
Become angelic in that sense. The reason why we're better than the angels is where we can do that having the capabilities of doing evil. But if we stop from doing evil and sort of ennoble us into this perfection of nobility, that's the perfection that God wants us to continue within this life.
Yeah.
And doing that will ensure the happiness and security and bliss and enjoyment in this life as well as the next life. So when God says, you worship me, part of this worship is like removing a thorn from the road or the path where people, when they step on it, and they will get injured.
Yeah.
Removing something like harmful from the road.
Of course.
If someone is in need, when you go and help them, that becomes part of worship. So often people misunderstand this concept of worship and the jihad, where if you think about it, it's something that you can do in this life as part of your living, which is good for us.
Yeah.
And it gives us a means to secure our destination on the hereafter.
Yeah.
Do you also believe that there can be a hereafter?
Yes, I don't know what may or may not.
Yeah.
There's traditional thoughts of.
Sure. But conceptually, you can think that it makes sense to have.
Yeah, from a conceptual point of view, from one way of looking at things is I can say to myself that I'm standing here speaking to you right now, and I'm comprised of billions and billions of molecules, and all of those molecules that are forming me right now have always been here. They were here 200 years ago. All of these molecules, they were here 200 years ago. Not in this form, but in a different form. And these same molecules are going to be here in 200 years' time. Now, I'm not going to be here in 200 years' time, but all of what comprises me is still going to be here 200 years' time. So, from the physicality, has always been, always will be.
Sure. From that point, yes, there's a physical reality that is possible to you to continue have this transformation of your own self, your physical reality, into the future. You'll be absorbed in the dust, and you'll be part of someone else, something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Yeah. But the concept when we talk about the hereafter is where there will become a time when this whole world will come to an end, and there will be a new creation, and we will all come back to life. Because the life that we have, we even have this understanding of, I want to live forever, I want to be happy forever, this ever longingness forever. Like, if you love someone, you want to love them forever, right? The concept is there, inbuilt, understood, that the everness, or longevity of it. So there will be a life, and that life will be forever, where we will have to account for what we have done here. So this life has been created as a test, as Muslims will believe, in which we have to demonstrate to ourselves whether we are worthy of going to a place of happiness or misery and suffering. Okay? And we will be in front of the judge, God, who will judge based on what we believed and what we did, our belief and actions.
Yeah.
So this life is a test and a measure in terms of how the consequences are going to be in the hereafter.
I sort of think the possibility of looking at things like this in this way is that the ultimate thing for you and I or whatever would be to be close to God. Yeah. And that you know, people maybe say that, oh, you know, God will judge you, this and that, and you will not be close to God. But I would maybe inclined to think in terms of saying to myself that if that were to be the case, then if I am not close to God, let's say, it can only be my fault. It's not because God is judging me, oh, you can't be close to me. God was calling me to God, but my stupidity would not go there. In the same way that you've got a child, your child is on one of those little floating boat things on the sea, and you're calling out to your child, come back, don't go there, come back, and your child ignores you and is going away and away and away, and at a point, happens at a certain point, they are so far from you they can't get back. Yeah, not because your fault. You were calling them all the time, but it wouldn't. You see, and I look at it the same sort of thing.
If you look at it, the Islamic concept is not very drastically different from what you are describing. I mean, in fact, that's why you will be in tune with this concept where when God placed us on this earth from the very beginning, He's not going to leave us astray by our own making and things like and trial and error, live this life. He will send prophets and messengers as guides to tell us how we're going to live our life in the best possible way, and by doing that, then we will be fulfilling the purpose of our creation. Because this creation, created by this Creator, is not in vain and it's just out of jest and nothing, but for a purpose. Sure. Because God is just, and He created other creation before us, like the angels with no free will, but He's ennobled us with a free will, and we want to then see whether with our free will we're able to, do what we're supposed to do. Our ego sometimes comes over us, and that's where the problem is. God says, control your ego, submit to God's commands, which is then going to help you to secure your place and of His mercy in paradise, or you will have place of misery in hellfire, being punished for it. So God sent prophets and messengers, remind us, and constantly guide us through our dreams, through things that you will see. For example, say someone worships instead of God something else, like a statue, right? And he sees a dog comes along, lifts the hind leg and urinates on the statue, and that particular person at that time broke meditation and became very angry. How can you defile my God? He started running after this dog. And while he was running after this dog, momentarily it clicked on him. Why am I running away from, chasing this dog? The God that I'm worshipping couldn't even protect itself. That was the click. That was the guidance from God at that point to think like, this cannot be God that you're worshipping. You're making stones with your own self, carving them, and you're saying this is the creator of the cosmos. You should think twice. So these kind of guidance comes constantly to the people, and prophets and messengers comes throughout. So when our prophet said, for example, if you want to go and find the truth, you go, walking, God will come to you running.
Yeah.
If you take one step, God will take you 10 steps, because He doesn't force you to believe, puts you there to develop yourself with the intellect that you have and the free will that you have, and come to your realization yourself that yes, there is a creator, that He's the one who's worthy of worship, and you live accordingly. And He gives you the respite. You make mistakes. He gives you, the chance again to come back and reconcile. And He accepts your repentance when you ask for forgiveness. And if you take one step, He takes 10 steps, so that it becomes easier. And He tells you. He reveals books with prophets with evidence. Say, okay, this is what you're supposed to believe, and yet people don't.
Well, of course, there's the other side that people will embrace the evil, will worship Satan, and I think that there is far more of that than many people understand. That the world is predominantly being controlled by Satan, and more and more people are buying into it. many of them passively through persuasion, and others of them very deliberately, that this is their goal, to worship Satan and to bring about Satan's will around us. You know, and we see it all around us.
It's all, and the reason why people go towards this satanic rituals and framework is to fulfill their ego, again, their greed. I mean, they want to be people of fame and power and authority, and that's what they think.